Today's game is Bloodsuckers by Fireside Games. This is a 2 to 4 player card game. The theme, clearly enough, is vampires. A side will take the role of the vampires, the other side will be the vampire hunters, and the two sides will fight for control of civilians in the fictional town of Blackwood. I think this is pretty much all you need to know for now, so let's take a look and see how it plays. A game is divided in a series of battles that will take place in these locations, and you will use this display to keep track of how things are going in the game. After a battle is over, the team that is in disadvantage will choose the location for the next battle. Each location has a number that corresponds to the number of bystanders that are to be found in that location. Once a location is selected for a battle, you draw a number of bystanders cards from the deck. The number must correspond to the number of bystanders in that location, and you place the bystanders in the middle of the table. Then you turn the dial to indicate that the location is engaged, that there is a battle going on there. At the end of the battle, if the vampires took control of the majority of the bystanders in that location, the vampires win the battle, and you record that by placing the dial in that position. If the humans win the battle by taking control of the majority of bystanders, then you indicate that by turning the dial in that direction. If there is a tie, then the location is locked, nobody takes control of it, and well, that's it, because there can be only one battle in each location. Then you also have a dial that represents the turns within a battle. Each battle is divided in two phases, a night phase and a day phase, during which humans and vampires have different powers and or limitations. The team that chooses where the battle is taking place also goes first. Battles where the humans go first start at dawn, and then they continue for 24 hours. And battles started by the vampires, where the vampires go first, start at dusk, and also continue for 24 hours. Usually players alternate taking turns, so for example, a battle where the vampires go first, we start with the turn for Vampire 1, then you have Hunter 1 going, Vampire 2, and Hunter 2. The 1s and the 2s are for a 4-player game when you're playing in teams. If you're playing a 2-player game, then you ignore the 1s and 2s and you just look at the Hunter and Vampire thing. But interestingly enough, when the vampires go first, the hunters are gonna have 2 turns in a row in the middle of the battle. However, since then the turns alternate again, that means that the vampires that went first also go last in that battle. And quite the contrary, in battles where the humans go first, the vampires are going to have 2 turns in a row in the middle of the battle, but then the hunters will go last for that battle. This is the board for the game, which is divided in 5 columns. All columns are the same, it doesn't really matter which one or ones you're using, only the number of columns that you're using is relevant. And the central area of each column is where you will place the bystanders that the players are fighting for. The board also has spaces where the players will place the cards representing the characters that they're sending into the fight. Each character card has 2 sides. One is a human side and one is a vampire side, because sometimes humans will turn into vampires during the battle, but also because when a bystander is won by one of the 2 teams, the card goes to that team, the card becomes a character, and of course the humans will use that side and the vampires will use that side. During his turn, the active player can perform 3 actions chosen from the lists on the player aids. The same action can be performed multiple times in each turn, and actions can be performed in any order. For one action, a player can move one character from a location on the board to another location, or from the character pile to the board, and this is in case a character has been killed and the other characters need to go and fill that location to be able to execute actions in that column. For one action, a player can draw one card. For one action, you can feed a blood token to one of your vampires if you're the vampire player, or you can activate an adrenaline token. These tokens are, of course, pretty good. They give good advantages to the players, but alas, it costs one action to activate them. For one action, you can give a card to a teammate, again, in case some of the cards of that teammate have been killed. You can also bank unused actions. You just take a token to record the number of unused actions that you have banked. You cannot have more than 2, but you can use those banked actions later, which can be pretty powerful. If you're playing in a team with more than one player, then you can give, receive, or trade a card with a teammate at no action cost. Of course, there's also another action, which is to play combat cards, and I left that one for last because it is the most important one and it does require a more detailed explanation. Each deck has 4 types of cards. There are strikes, which are particularly powerful, but also rare cards. There aren't many in the deck. Any successful strike will allow you to destroy a character of the opponent, which is great not only because it gives you an adrenaline token, or if you're a vampire, it gives you a blood token, but a successful strike is also great because it leaves a hole in the line of the opponent, and now the opponent needs to spend an action to put a character there if he wants to perform an action in that location. Because for most cards you need a character to be present and active in a location in order for the player to be able to play a card there. Then you have dodges. Dodges are equally rare in the deck. They can be played out of turn and they allow you to cancel a strike as it is played against you. Another type of card is the impact card. Some impact cards can be played at no action cost, and that symbol there tells you that you can play that card without spending any action. And impact cards have a variety of effects. They usually modify the situation on the board, they make some of your attacks stronger, they may give you extra movement, things like that, different types of advantages. And then, very important, you have attacks. Each attack has a number or several numbers there representing the strength of the attack. Some attacks, such as this one, have different values depending on whether the attack is played during the day or during the night. Human attacks, of course, are more powerful during the day and less during the night, and the opposite is true for the vampires. Also, most attacks will have a special effect that is resolved as the attack is played. When you play an attack card in a location where you have an active card that allows you to do so, you will record the value of that attack on the track on the back of the bystander card for that location. Suppose I played this card with this character during the day, then that attack has a strength of 5, and I place my attack marker there on the number 5 on the track. Then, before the battle is over, I can play other cards to modify that effect. For example, if I play that impact card, that will increase one attack value of 2 points by 2 points, so I will go up to 7 there. And you really need impact cards to improve your initial attack in a certain location, because this is a tricky thing. Attacks are not added together. If I were to play that attack there now in that location, I would not add 5 here. I would simply have to go back to 5, bring my attack marker down to 5, because it is only the last attack that is played in a location that matters. But sometimes you have special attacks that have such good effects that you are okay with losing some of your original attack just so that you can use the special power of that attack. And this is really how the game works. You keep playing cards to launch and improve your attacks, try to destroy your enemies, get special advantages here and there. You try to launch attacks, improve them. Both players will do so. You may have cards that allow you to reduce the attack of the opponents. This card, for example, played during the day, will reduce the vampire attack by 4. Once you play all turns in a battle, then you decide the winner of that battle by looking at the bystander cards individually. For each bystander card, the winner is the player or team that has the single highest attack value on that card. In this case, for example, if this is the end of the battle, the humans would win that card. And the card goes to the pile of the player that won the card, in this case, Hunter 1. So you do this check for all columns on the board. The player or team that won most bystanders is the winner of that battle, and you record that on the display that I showed you at the beginning. If there is a tie for a certain bystander, then nobody wins that bystander. And if there is a tie overall in the battle, then nobody wins that battle, and that location is considered to be locked. And you keep playing like this, battle after battle, and at the end, the winner will be the team or player that won most battles among the 5 available in each game. When I got this game, I was really excited about it. It seemed to have all the things that I like. I like the theme, I find it intriguing. I like the combat cards. It seemed that you could create different combos and create different strategies, and I like to explore a deck of cards trying to find those things. But then, after playing it a while, complaints started to arising in my group, and at the end, I kind of had to agree with most of those. A complaint is that the game can easily feel too long. If you're playing all 5 battles, especially in a 4-player game where the players are discussing strategies, that's part of the fun. But if you're playing 4 battles, all 5 battles in a 4-player game, the game can easily last 2 hours, 2 hours and a half. And trust me, in such a case, the game definitely overstays its welcome, especially because the battles that you play feel very similar to one another. The only thing that changes is the size, which is important. There is strategy to be created around that. Sometimes you want a small battle, sometimes a battle with a lot of bystanders, but overall it still feels that a battle is very similar to the other one. It feels that you're playing 5 hands of more or less the same thing, rather than a story that develops from location to location. Another thing is the last turn advantage. The cards are very powerful, incredibly powerful. Sometimes if you get good combos, there's really no way to stop a player, and if you have an entire turn to save cards to create a good combo, maybe you also bank some actions, then it doesn't matter what the other team did. The team that goes before last, doesn't matter how much advantage they created for themselves, the last player can just erase that advantage, improve his attacks so much that the player that goes last usually wins the battle, which leads us actually to the last and actually the major problem, which is luck. This game really seems to have a lot of luck. Even when you overcome that thing of being able to win the battle when you don't go last, it really feels that it is mainly because of luck. And at the beginning, I didn't want to believe this. I wanted to like this game, so I tried several times because I thought maybe we're just at the beginning, we haven't figured out the right combos and strategies that will allow you to overcome luck. But after forcing, encouraging people in my group to play the game more and more and more, at the end I had to surrender to the idea that it really seems that in this game the mechanics do not allow you to overcome the luck of the draw, which sometimes is really frustrating. You do develop a good strategy, you play with your teammate, you create, let's do this and that, you do this and I do this, and then you get a huge advantage, you really are excited and proud about your strategy. Then a player team gets 2 lucky cards, plays them, rolls a die, boom, and all your strategy is completely useless now. If it happens once or twice, it's okay, but here it seems to happen too consistently, too often, to the point that even when you win, you almost don't feel rewarded or gratified, because you really realize that all your great strategies were not as powerful as getting 2 powerful cards in your hand during the same turn. Because of this, the game has been a disappointment. Again, I started with the highest hopes, and the game is really not what I expected. Maybe somebody that loves the theme will want to play it anyways. Maybe somebody may enjoy playing it as a filler, so not playing all the battles, but just playing a battle in half an hour. And somebody who doesn't mind the huge lag, the huge swings of lag during the battle may enjoy this as a filler. Otherwise, as the game as a whole, I don't know, I could hardly recommend it.